Hey everyone, and welcome to The Spouse Life, where we talk about military life and Disney, dog momming, and everything in between. Speaking of. So I thought we'd start this first video off by talking about things I wish I knew before my husband left for basic military training. I was racking my brain, and it was a little bit easier for me to adjust than others because I had friends that had gone through it. I had family members that had gone through it. So it was just a matter of getting myself emotionally, mentally, and even physically prepared for my spouse not to be here. But I thought I would narrow it down into a list of 5 things that I wish I knew. So the first thing that I thought we would talk about is how we would all cope with my husband being gone. It was kind of a process trying to figure out how to deal with the biggest part of your life being away for 8.5 weeks. I found a job. I kind of threw myself into work. I threw myself into my family. I went and I lived with my parents, and my sister and her girls didn't live that far away. So it just being surrounded by family and having that distraction. It also helped having 2 dogs to look after. It gave me kind of an outlet. And I know that for a lot of my military spouse friends who have kids or who have dogs, that was also something that they were able to use as a way to work through it and not be thinking constantly about the fact that your other half is gone. The second thing was how long it would take to adjust to sleeping alone, and then how long it would adjust once you got back together to sleeping together again. I'm a very cuddly person, and my husband can agree with that. I kind of sleep like a koala. And so not having that extra body in the bed, not having him to sleep next to and to cuddle and go through the nightly routine took a long time to adjust to not having. And then on the flip side, once your body finally was used to sleeping alone, it took me a little bit to get back into that mindset and to relearn how to share the bed, share the blankets. Although my husband will say that I still haven't relearned how to share the blankets, but he would also say that I never learned to begin with. So number 3 is never knowing your friends or your spouse's friends' first names. I don't know how many times I've been told the person's name, and I find out after the fact that it's indeed their last name, because nobody goes by their first name in the military, at least not in the Air Force. So I would call like a friend by their first name and their spouse by their last name, and it gets really confusing, and it makes finding people on Facebook horrible because you're like, I only know your last name. Hope that your profile picture is of you and not of, some anime character that you like, to throw back to high school. So yeah, that's kind of a challenge, and not something I would have expected going into it. And it made it a mess. And that, because they'd refer to them as their last names, and then they would say their first name, and like my husband would, and I would just get all confused. That brings me into point 4, which is making really great friends and then never seeing them again. The military is notorious for this. You'll make really good friends, whether it be at tech school or at your first duty station, your second duty station. You'll become really great friends with a group of people, and then you'll all get moved, you'll get moved, or something will happen and everybody just disperses. And that is what happened when he got assigned his first duty station. We were the only ones going to that base. A lot of our other friends were going to another base. Some were going the East Coast, West Coast, anywhere in the Midwest. So we had to say goodbye. And we got lucky, and some of them are close. And some of them are not so close. So that really wasn't fun, having to say goodbye to all of the friends that we had made. I know my husband had a lot of friends from his squadron at basic training with him, and then some of his best friends he made after going to tech school and just having to say goodbye to them and not knowing when we'd see them again or if we would see them again was kind of rough. That kind of then also leads me into my last point, which is how amazing and frightening starting this journey is. My husband and I lived up in his hometown for about the first 9 months of our marriage. So we were close to his family, close to all his friends that he grew up with, close to my friends that I made at the college up there. And so it was rough moving back down and moving away from that familiarity, even though I was moving back in with my parents. And then again, after he graduated basic training and I went out and I followed him out to his tech school location, at that point leaving my parents and leaving my family and going 8 hours away. So that was really frightening, but needless to say, it was very much so worth it, because when he graduated and he was done with tech school and we were both able to go to his first duty assignment, that's when the amazement and the anticipation for what this next long chapter of our lives was going to look like. And that's where we're at now. We're at our first duty station. We're about 6 months into it, kind of still getting used to it, learning the ropes, figuring things out as we go. But that's it for this video. If you liked it, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like it, go ahead and click the subscribe button down below. And leave a comment down in the comments about what you thought of your spouse's BMT experience, things that you wish you had known if I didn't hit on them in this list, things that made you happy, made you cry. I can guarantee you I felt it all. It was a long 8.5 weeks, and that's the shortest amount of time. So just tell me what you thought. Anyway, thanks so much. Bye!